China's flying car industry hit a milestone in November 2025 that no aviation or automotive company had reached before. A factory in Guangzhou's Huangpu district began trial production on an assembly line built for a vehicle that drives and flies. Not a prototype, a production line built the same way a factory builds a sedan. The company behind it is XPeng AeroHT, a subsidiary of the Chinese electric vehicle maker XPeng. Their vehicle is called the Land Aircraft Carrier, and it works as two connected machines. A six-wheel ground vehicle, about 5.5 meters long, drives on public roads with a standard license and parks in a regular parking space. A detachable electric vertical takeoff and landing module folds into the trunk in under 5 minutes and handles the flying portion of the trip. The design logic is different from almost every other flying car concept on the market. Instead of building one vehicle that does both jobs poorly, XPeng split the function in two, letting the ground vehicle behave like a normal car and the flying module behave like a purpose-built aircraft. XPeng AeroHT's brand communications director, Zhang Shuihui, confirmed the plant is still in trial production. These early units rolling off the line are for flight testing and performance verification, not customer delivery. Before full-scale manufacturing begins, the company still needs two separate approvals from Chinese aviation regulators, an airworthiness certification for the flying module, and a production qualification license for the manufacturing process itself. Both of these are standard requirements for any aircraft entering commercial service, and neither has been granted yet. What has already happened is the manufacturing line itself, which is running, tested, and building physical units right now. The company has stated mass production and delivery are targeted for 2026, contingent on receiving those certifications. The order numbers already suggest serious market demand. Nearly 5,000 orders have come in for the Land Aircraft Carrier before a single unit has reached a customer. The Guangzhou plant's planned annual production capacity is 10,000 units a year, which would make it the highest volume flying car manufacturing facility in the world by a wide margin. Pricing will land under 2 million yuan, roughly $281,000. That number sounds large in isolation, but compared to the rest of the eVTOL industry, it is aggressively cheap. Most electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft on the market today, built by companies focused purely on aviation rather than consumer vehicles, sell for well over $1 million, some approaching $2 million, for a single unit with far less utility since they cannot be driven on roads at all. Part of how XPeng keeps costs down comes from materials. Each vehicle uses up to 300 kilograms of carbon fiber composite to stay light enough to achieve vertical flight while still carrying the weight of a road-going chassis. XPeng's chairman, He Xiaopeng, has stated that once this plant reaches full production in 2026, it will consume more carbon fiber than any other facility in the entire automotive industry, a claim that reflects just how material-intensive this hybrid design actually is. To fund construction, XPeng AeroHT secured loans totaling 1.26 billion yuan, about $170 million, from a group of 5 Chinese banks. The company's yearly operating budget for the flying car division alone sits at 3 billion yuan, and over the past decade, XPeng AeroHT has raised more than 10 billion yuan, specifically for this program. None of this exists in a vacuum. China's Ministry of Transport has already announced plans for dedicated aerial corridors reserved for personal aircraft, alongside a low-altitude traffic management system, both targeted for rollout by 2026, the same year XPeng's factory plans to begin full deliveries. This entire effort falls under a national policy China refers to as the low-altitude economy, treated by the government with the same seriousness and funding priority that the electric vehicle sector received roughly a decade ago. The China Low Altitude Economic Alliance, an industry body tracking this sector, projects the country could have as many as 100,000 eVTOLs and long-range drones operating by 2030, spanning personal transport, cargo delivery, and medical services. The infrastructure being built to support this is not limited to the vehicles themselves. Huawei is developing the air traffic control software required to manage this kind of airspace, an AI-powered platform running on the company's own Ascend chips, capable of processing millions of individual flight paths per second. This system has already been tested at full city scale in Shenzhen, one of China's most densely populated urban centers, suggesting the traffic management side of this technology is further along than most outside observers assume. For comparison, in the United States, the two companies furthest along in this space, Joby Aviation and Archer Aviation, are still targeting Federal Aviation Administration certification for commercial passenger flights sometime in 2026, a timeline that has already slipped multiple times from its original target. China is not simply building the vehicles faster than its competitors, it is building the surrounding regulatory approval process and airspace infrastructure faster as well, which matters more for how quickly this technology can actually reach paying customers. XPeng is far from the only company competing in this space inside China. Ehong became the first company in the world to receive full-type certification for an autonomous passenger drone, achieving that milestone back in 2023, years ahead of most global competitors. The company has since sold more than 300 units of its two-person AeroHT-216-S aircraft and has run demonstration tours across Japan, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, regions it sees as early adopter markets for this kind of transport. AutoFlight, a separate Chinese manufacturer, received airworthiness certification for a cargo-focused drone capable of carrying loads exceeding 1 ton, becoming the first eVTOL over that weight class certified to fly in Chinese airspace. Their 5-person passenger model, called the Prosperity, is targeting commercial operations in late 2026 or early 2027, and the company has already conducted demonstration flights in Japan as part of a plan to connect 3 islands across the country's inland sea using low-altitude air transport instead of ferries or bridges. A third manufacturer, XPeng AeroHT, has accumulated more than 700 domestic pre-orders for its own aircraft. Across the entire sector, more than 30 separate eVTOL startups have launched in China within the past year alone, a pace of formation that reflects both government subsidy support and genuine investor confidence in the timeline. Battery manufacturers are moving in step with this growth. CATL, one of the largest battery producers in the world, has invested directly in AutoFlight as a strategic partner, while smaller suppliers focused on materials science have worked to cut the cost of aerospace-grade carbon fiber, the same material driving up costs across every company in this space, XPeng included. If the 2026 timeline holds across these companies, several things change for the broader market. First, on pricing, a vehicle priced under $300,000 is a fraction of what nearly every other eVTOL maker currently charges, and XPeng's stated production scale of 10,000 units annually is specifically designed to push that number down further as the assembly line matures and supply chains stabilize. Second, on use case, the earliest deployment plans are not built around daily urban commuting the way flying cars are often depicted in concept videos. XPeng has announced plans for more than 20 flying car campsites across Hainan Island, China's tropical southern province, between 2026 and 2027, positioning the vehicle first as a tourism and recreation product rather than daily transportation. Emergency response is the other early use case receiving serious attention, since a vehicle capable of driving to a disaster zone and then flying over blocked or destroyed roads offers a clear operational advantage over either a standard ambulance or a helicopter that requires a dedicated landing zone. Beyond China's own borders, the ambition stated publicly by these companies extends further. Chinese eVTOL makers have said their long-term goal is not simply domestic market dominance, but becoming the primary global supplier of low-altitude aircraft to markets across Asia, the Middle East, and eventually Europe. This mirrors, almost exactly, the strategy that took Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers from a domestic curiosity to a dominant global export force within roughly 1 decade. Given that XPeng itself made that exact transition as a car company before spinning off its flying car division, the parallel is not incidental. It is the same playbook applied to a new category of vehicle. None of this guarantees a smooth outcome. Certification delays remain a real possibility, given that both the airworthiness approval and the production qualification license are still pending for XPeng's own vehicle. Safety incidents, even minor ones, could slow public trust in an industry still working to prove itself to regulators and consumers alike, and the gap between a functioning trial production line and a reliable mass-market delivery schedule has tripped up ambitious timelines in nearly every emerging vehicle category that came before this one, from early electric vehicles to autonomous driving systems. What is not in question is what already exists today. The manufacturing line in Guangzhou is running, producing physical units on a modern assembly system built specifically for this vehicle. The order book already holds close to 5,000 reservations without a single customer delivery having occurred, and the government policy required to legally allow these vehicles into the air, covering flight corridors, traffic management, and airspace integration, is already being written into national transportation law, with a target date that lines up directly with XPeng's own production schedule.